Who art the king of the gays? The queen of lesbians? The barons of bis? The answer may shock you. It might also piss you off. It probably will, actually. But I look forward to those comments. But it's a community that I don't think gets enough recognition as a proper LGBT community. And so it leads to a great deal of misunderstanding as to why people are in this community to begin with. Look at my profile picture. You can probably guess what the community is. But if you like this video, please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. I would deeply appreciate it. And let's jump in. Only recently have LGBT people begun to be able to organize in large communities that aren't restricted by geography. Before the age of the internet, LGBT groups didn't really enjoy that luxury. They existed largely, underground and or like clustered into little urban pockets. Not a lot of accessibility for those in the suburbs or in rural God knows where. Thankfully, though, things started to turn around in the 21st century. Accepting attitudes over LGBT people, my God, can you not? Combined with that weird little thing called the internet, made it a lot easier for broader LGBT communities to coalesce. Drag culture, for example, a lot of gays in that expanded wildly with the advent of social media. Now, one can have an entirely different discussion as to whether social media has been good for drag culture or if the internet has been good for anything, but that's not this video. Being thrust into the mainstream limelight is never a pretty affair. And elements of drag culture have absolutely been appropriated and trivialized and used for corporate success, but it has been made a lot more accessible. And it's become a lot easier for LGBT people around the world to engage in a space that transcends geography. That being the internet. Why are these spaces helpful though? How does it help us, the gays, to cluster into online pockets when acceptance by broader society has been the focal point of our fight for the last God knows how many decades? And to be truthful, our integration into broader society and acceptance by broader society has been a very good thing, but broader society doesn't provide a certain thing that us gays still really want, and that is to feel like the default. There's another online community, one born and raised almost solely on the internet, that achieves a similar goal, providing many LGBT people with a thing with which to gather around and to feel like the default. This thing is called a fandom, but it isn't bound to any pre-existing source material. It's more a fandom centered around like an idea. It exists somewhere between hobby and lifestyle, and much like a universal donor, it can mesh with just about any other interest that comes into contact with it. That could be cars, writing, damn it, art, sexy times, charity, cooking. You decide. It's invariably whatever you make of it. And it happens to have a ton of particularly queer people in both definitions of the word. If you feel so compelled by anger, I want you to please pause the video now and head down to the comment section, write some, I don't know, dumb drivel so that I can read it and laugh at your bad takes later. I would seriously hate for the next few minutes to genuinely change your opinion and enlighten you in any degree. So I encourage you to write some dumb stuff and then leave the video. Peace out. When you see the word furry, woof, what is the first thing that you think of? Go on, say it. Actually, don't. I'm not Dora the Explorer. Now, if you think fetishes and animal costumes and weirdly specific art, then I don't know, are you wrong? If I asked you the same question about like cars and your answer was windshield wipers, then like, yeah, like, okay, you're right. That is one of the many components to a car. The furry fandom is really unique in its kaleidoscopic makeup. There are car furries, a lot of them. There are also those into mountain biking, photography, YouTube, TikTok, writing, gaming, poetry, whatever. You can come to the fandom, truthfully, with any extra interest, and there will be a sub-community for you. But what is a largely unifying component of the fandom, even more so than the off-assumed sexual stuff, is just how fucking gay it is. It's time to look at numbers. Love this part. First off, how many furries are there? Fuck if I know. There's no census. that I know of. There is no central bureau of furry affairs. Considering that some furry conventions are reaching the tens of thousands in attendance, and that there are furry YouTubers on this platform who have more than 100,000 subscribers, I think it's fair to say that we can start with a baseline of 100,000 furries. Now, some estimates go into the millions, but there's not really a strong basis for that, so I'm kind of a little hesitant to play with such large numbers, but the possibility is certainly there. So let's say the global furry population rivals the state of, I don't know, Wyoming. Why not, right? That is still a lot of people, though. You know, like I don't think about Wyoming a lot, but it's there, and there are people in it, so that's a lot of people, right? That's a state's worth of people. It's a lot of furries. Now, how many of them are gay? Now, the following data comes from a sociological project called this is too long to read. It's run by a bunch of fancy people with PhDs, and, well, you know they're dedicated if they think that studying furries is worth the student debt. So let's take a look at their numbers. In a survey of at least 1,200 people done at Anthrocon 2018, the biggest FurCon of the year, folks were asked to choose their sexuality based on existing categories of gay, straight, bi, whatever. The shocking statistic is that just over 20% of respondents said that they were heterosexual. There's also like a I don't know category that it comes out to like about 5%, so I think it's fairly safe to say that at least 3/4 of the fandom is some flavor of gay. Now, in the general populace, the heterosexual population is usually about like, what, 90%? So that's a pretty big disparity. Now, as for their reason for being in the fandom, many cite a sense of belonging. That sense of community is a massive draw, especially when compared to other fandoms. And while the fandom is not about sex, okay, I would be lying to you if I said that there wasn't a sexual component for some. And of course there is. Really? Like, it's a massive community where feeling like some flavor of gay is the default. When 10% of the population is gay, believe me, it gets pretty hard to find a partner. Grindr can only do so much. That's a garbage app too, oh my god. Again, the fandom isn't all about sex. There wouldn't be a plethora of SFW art and Twitch streamers and YouTubers and TikTokers if it were. But, hot take incoming, okay, here we go. Impugning the fandom for having a sexual component only belies the homophobia that ran rampant when folks were impugning gay bars and pride parades and drag shows for being dens of sexual iniquity. What they really are, and what they've always been, are spaces where LGBT people go to feel like the default. What they really are, and what they've always been, are places where LGBT people can go and feel like the default. For once! Whenever the fandom is brought up disparagingly in the mainstream media, it's always done so in a very schizophrenic, and I mean that in the literary definition of the word, so don't cancel me, okay? It's done in a very schizophrenic fashion. They portray the fandom as being sexually devious, but also heterosexual, and that's tactful. Really tactful. If the fandom were portrayed honestly as a largely LGBT community, then portraying them as a bunch of sexual deviants wouldn't look all that good. Thankfully, it's no longer vogue to explicitly portray LGBT people as sexually devious, though it's still done. It's still done. But by presenting furries as like a bunch of perverted straight guys, you can impugn them the same way that folks would impugn LGBT communities in the past, all while completely divorcing that LGBT component. Basically, shaming the fandom for being composed of a bunch of perverts is a really convenient way of being homophobic without even realizing that you're being homophobic. My aim for this video was twofold. For the like 2 or 3 non-furries watching the video, thank you by the way, I hope it contextualizes why a lot of us are in the fandom and how it goes beyond an interest in anthropomorphism. And for LGBT furries, I hope I can give voice to your participation in this godforsaken community. Furries are always hit with the why are you here? Why are you in this fandom question all the time, and It's not always the easiest answer, at least tactfully. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, I deeply appreciate it. I hope you can hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. You can also find me on a bunch of other platforms. I'm on Twitch at lmao. There's a little link in the description below, as well as Twitter, Instagram, and a bunch of other places, and you can find those links and follow me there. I'd love to see you there. But in the meantime, thank you for watching. I appreciate it, and I don't know, have a good day or night or whatever the hell it is for you. Illy. Goodbye. Look at that, I made a video. This lighting's pretty dope too without the key light. Or is that the key light? I didn't pay attention in film school classes. Fuck. I don't know. I like this light. I like this lighting. It's, ooh, golden. Fucking this goddamn fucking crown.